This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles, brought to you by our friends at Athletic Greens. One-stop shopping for 75 high-quality vitamins to help you start your day right. We're going to get to Monday night's game, okay? We're going to break down the Patriots and the Cardinals. We're going to talk about the injury situation that we see playing out at practice today. However, we are going to start this podcast with something that I thought we would never start this podcast with on this day. I got an email from Greg this morning, and it's all about Bill Belichick. And, you know, before we get to what's happening behind the scenes in Patriotsville, and we get to Bill Belichick and his future, whether or not people should be concerned if you want Belichick to be in New England long-term, let's start with the other big story in Boston, Greg. I just want your quick thoughts on Xander Bogaerts going to the Padres. This was reported last night. It's an 11-year deal worth $280 million. Just your quick thoughts before we get into Bill Belichick and whether or not he should be worrying about his future in New England.
My quick thoughts on Xander is that I think it's a travesty that it came to this. It never should have come to this with him. They should have went above and beyond before last season to get him locked up. The price tag always goes up once you get into a free agent year, especially for a Scott Boras client. The Red Sox had to know this. They do know it, and they completely whiffed. And the other thing I wanted to say about this, Nick, and I'll be interested in your thoughts. Look. Baseball doesn't have a salary cap. I mean, they have the, luxury tax threshold or whatever, but it's not like football where you say, all right, well, we can't do certain things, even though that is, of course, up for debate. And I understand some of the debate about it. But at the end of the day, there is a limit that you can do in football to build a competitive team year in and year out, as you were seeing with the Rams this year. It's different in baseball. There's no salary cap. And when you're a team that prints money, like the Red Sox, like the Yankees, like the Dodgers, there really shouldn't be a budget, especially when it comes to your players that have grown up in your system, who have proven that they can play in Boston and be successful. I can't think, and Nick, maybe you might have some names, but I can't think of a guy who either was homegrown here or played here early in their career that the Patriots, I keep saying the Patriots, but the Red Sox overpaid and lost on. I mean, I think all the mistakes that they've really made, the Sandovals, the Crawfords, those guys, they overpay for these guys from the outside, but they don't know how they're going to fare in this pressure cooker in Boston. And, I just think that with no salary cap and knowing that a guy like Xander Bogaerts, who came up in your system, wanted to be here, flourished here, was one of your ambassadors, the faces of the franchise, I'll never understand how you can lose that guy to another team. It should never get to that point, and I just think it's ridiculous. I don't really care what the Red Sox do now, whoever they sign, Correa, whoever. It doesn't really matter to me because there's first Mookie, now Xander, Devers is probably next. It's just like, what the hell are they doing down there?
Complete and utter mismanagement. They should be embarrassed. It's shameful. There's too many. I know it's the minority. I believe it's the minority of Red Sox fans, but there still are too many people, especially in the Twitter world, that are trying to defend this in some kind of way. And they're missing the point. The point is not whether Xander just got a bananas contract from the San Diego Padres. Everybody would agree that giving an 11-year deal worth that much money to a guy who is 30 years old, it's going to burn you in the final 4 or 5 years of that contract, most likely. Same thing with Trey Turner and the contract he signed with Dave Dombrowski in Philadelphia, an 11-year deal, $300 million for Turner. Turner is 1 year younger than Xander. It's not about the contract that Xander is agreeing to right now. It is what led to Xander agreeing to the contract that he's getting right now. It's the fact that this ownership group continues to fail and continues to not acknowledge what they have screwed up in the past. They have been incapable of learning from their mistakes. John Lester, you lowballed him. He left. You overpaid David Price. Mookie Betts, you lowballed him. He ends up getting traded for a bag of baseballs pretty much, and hopefully Verdugo will be a decent player this season. And now you lowball Xander last year with this 4-year, $90 million contract, which Scott Boras likely laughed and walked away from the table and said, you think that's going to get it done? And then you go out and you sign Trevor Story, who is maybe going to be Xander's replacement. And Xander actually helps recruit Trevor Story, helps bring him to Boston, subjugates his ego, swallows his pride, and says, this guy that's playing alongside me all year long for this crap baseball team is making much more money than I'm making. And you circle back and you tell the fans when this season ends that Xander is your number one priority, that he is the guy that you're focused on first and foremost. And that yesterday we're getting all of these reports that they're close. They feel very confident. Oh, Chaim Bloom is smiling during his media session. Must mean he knows something. And then you find out that not only did Xander sign for the $280 million or is going to, but that the Red Sox did not even get to $200 million. And I know, look, 6 years, 160, it's the average annual value. I understand. I literally, when I was 12 years old, used to construct baseball rosters and hold my own off seasons. Yes, I was a nerd. I know all about AAV. I know all about luxury tax. I know all about the pick that they're going to get because Xander's going to end up in. I don't care. The big picture is this. You have an ownership group that runs a team that is in a top 10 market that prints money. They bought the team for $660 million years ago. It is now worth over $3.5, close to $4 billion. It's one of the most valuable franchises in all of sports. And these guys can't get their head out of their ass. They can't figure out that paying your own, taking care of the guy before he gets to free agency is the way to do it. And when you let him get to free agency, guess what? He's going to get what the market says he should get. He's not going to get a deal on your terms, John Henry. And I'm not saying Chaim Bloom. This is John Henry. This is an ownership problem. It's gone through multiple general managers. It's the same owner. And when you lowball your guy, and you allow him to walk into free agency, guess what? You're going to get bit in the ass. And the fact that they did not learn from the John Lester debacle, and now we fast forward, and it's the same damn thing with the guy who should have the C on his jersey, he should have been locked up last offseason, is criminal. It's malpractice. It's ignorance. It's stupidity. And it's shameful. It's embarrassing. And John Henry should be embarrassed. That ownership group should be embarrassed. And I know I ranted on Tuesday. I promised I wouldn't rant today, but then this happened last night. And I'm telling you, like, I don't get it. I don't get it how an ownership group can continue to make the same mistakes over and I'll just end with this. I've been a Red Sox fan my entire life. My dad used to take me to McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket. I grew up on baseball. It was my first love. I played baseball. I played baseball through high school until the jackass coach cut me, giving me literally, a 1 hour tryout after I hit 500 in AAU. Anyway, I digress. I loved baseball. So it was my first love. Okay. And I love the Red Sox. Okay. I truly love the Red Sox. And I wanted my entire life until 2004. I prayed and I hoped and I dreamed of the Red Sox winning a World Series. They won the World Series in 2004. I was hanging out with a couple of my buddies at a bar that we used to hang out at. Okay. And I remember that night like it was yesterday when they won that World Series and that chopper went back to Keith Folk and he underhanded it to Minkiewicz. I remember tackling my buddies, rolling around on the floor, going bananas. I remember the bartender jumping on the bar and pouring shots down my throat. I remember just feeling like the world can end at that moment and I would be fine with it. That was John Henry's doing. This ownership group has won 4 World Series since 2004. It should tell you how badly they have mismanaged things, that there are fans out there that want him gone. Fans that did everything that they could to wish a World Series championship now have 4 of them. And John Henry has done such a bad job at certain aspects of the gig that fans just want him to sell the team. The guy who helped bring 4 championships to Boston. They now want him out. And it's because of the treatment of people. It's because of how he's done it. It's because of his inability to keep guys that are homegrown and want to be in Boston and love Boston and produce in Boston. And they continually spit in their face every single. They did it to Ortiz, going year to year with Ortiz. It's a joke. All right. Let's get to the Patriots. So I did not expect that we would be talking about this. And I know I just went on for about a good 4 or 5 minutes. Hopefully people enjoyed. I will now give the floor to Greg Bedard to give us some of what he's hearing about Bill Belichick. Very interesting, Greg. You've heard some chatter around the team. You've heard some chatter about Belichick's future. Fill the people in and give us your thoughts.
So, it just to give people a little bit of background is, part of my normal duty, especially when things look a little bit dicey around the Patriots, trying to figure out what's going on. And really the genesis of it was, doing a column on, how things have gone so poorly on offense and, but also checking in like, hey, what's going on? How's the, how important is this game? Stuff like that. I was just surprised, and I'm not sure quite what to make out of it. And I'll sort of give you my prediction at the end here after our sort of rolling discussion about this. But the bottom line is this. In discussions with people this week, I have been surprised at the way they've spoken sort of about Belichick, his future, this game. It's not exactly what they're saying. It's sort of, what they're not saying. Which has been sort of surprising to me. And I know that sounds confusing, but people just got to trust me on this. But the bottom line is this, that people around the team, including some very good sources of mine who have never steered me wrong, have basically indicated that this Cardinals game on Monday night with the Patriots going out for their West Coast swing is among, if not the most important game of Belichick's career post Tom Brady. That if the Patriots don't win this game, then I think there is a serious question about whether Belichick is the future head coach of this team. Now, I'm not telling you it's going to happen. And in fact, I think that the Patriots will win on Monday night. I think they'll be competitive down the stretch, and I don't think it'll ever get to this point. But I think it's certainly worthy of discussion that this is almost a must-win on Monday night against the Cardinals as far as Belichick's concerned. And I think it's, you look at it in the team perspective, that if they don't win this game and then they're staying in Arizona and practicing for the week, and then they got to play Josh McDaniels and the Raiders on Thursday night. Sunday. I'm getting this latest schedule is throwing me for a loop. It's like every Thursday night, every night game they're playing. But now it's moved to Sunday afternoon. Things have a chance to go off the rails. And I think that Belichick needs a win here badly. And I think that he'll get it. But and we talked about this in October, Nick. I wrote about it in October.
Yep.
That Belichick had to get this thing back with the quarterback, especially back on the tracks for the rest of the season because the Crafts were watching. And they're still sort of in the same place at this moment. So a very interesting time for the Patriots. I did not expect to be talking about this. Again, I'm a little bit surprised that we are, but I think it's a worthwhile discussion at this point.
Well, obviously that's big. And again, I did not anticipate we'd be having this conversation on this day before this particular game. Let me ask you, do you think Belichick is aware of this? Do you think he has an idea? Is this something that Robert Kraft would discuss with him? Or is this something that, is more kind of ownership level, keeping an eye on him and he might not know how close to the edge he might be?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. My guess from knowing how things work at one Patriot place, I would think that number one, Belichick, of course, is extremely smart. So he knows he reads the tea leaves better than anybody in the room. But, I think that he's worried about just coaching his team. I don't think he's thinking about the future. I do think that he thinks he's earned enough goodwill to continue here beyond this season. But I don't think there have been any discussions, and Belichick's not the type of guy to really think about beyond just preparing his team for this week's game.
When we talked about it, I go back several weeks ago. I think it was October, like you mentioned. I had said at the time that if this team wins only 6 games, if they finished 6-11, then everything's on the table, including Belichick's future. At that point, he's had more than enough time post Brady to figure things out. And if it's at 6-11 that bad, which I don't think it's going to be, I agree with you. I think they'll fight, and I think they'll be around 8 or 9 wins like I thought they would be before the season kicked off. But if it was 6-11, then anything's on the table and everything's on the table. And if it was 7 wins or more without a playoff visit, I would think that Kraft would tell Belichick, look, man, this is your last shot, right? You have to win a playoff game. You've got to win in the playoffs to continue here, because we're just not going to continue, being what we've been post Brady. Let me ask you this, Greg. At this point, after what we've seen this season and sitting at 6-6 now, getting ready for the Cardinals, do you think it's fair? Do you think it's justified that this game is as big as you've heard it could be for Belichick?
I don't know if I have an opinion on this, but let me just explain it this way. In my view, from talking to people, there's 2 big reasons why we're at this point now. Okay. From the ownership's perspective, certainly Belichick did unbelievable things here for a very long time. It's doing 6 Super Bowl titles, another 3 Super Bowl trips. I mean, it's just unbelievable success during the salary cap era. But look, I mean, this is a performance-based business. And in ownership's mind, I think, and no one has told me this directly, but I'm just giving you what I think, reading the tea leaves from talking to people. 2 things. Number 1, Belichick has taken, if this season continues, if they end up with a losing record this year, which it looks like, I would say the odds are decent, at least 8-9, if not worse. That's why the Cardinals is a big swing game. I mean, if they win that game, then they're 7-6. Who knows what happens? If they lose, right, they're 6-7, and who knows? They could lose out and be 6-11 or 7-10. 3 big L's. Brady out the door while he's still good enough to win a lot, including coming back the other night at the same week where the Kraft's head coach refused to go for it on 4th and 6 from his own 46-yard line with 12 minutes left in the game, down 3 scores. You kick a field goal there. You get it. You kick a field goal there. At the least, you're in the same position that Brady was. About 6 minutes left, whatever, down 2 scores. And Brady's winning a football game, and the Kraft's head coach is saying he's trying to stay in the game by punting down 3 scores with 12 minutes. Again, what I said the other day, that's a fireable offense to me. So Brady going out the door, being pushed out the door basically by Belichick. The Krafts backing Belichick on that, backing the head coach. Now they've all lost on that. The spending, Krafts 2020, okay, fine. A reset. We understand resetting the cap. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to hit it. 2021, huge expenditure for the Krafts. You look at it now, 2 years out, not even close to the bang for the buck for everything that they did for this team. And then the third thing is the offense and Mac Jones. The regression of Mac Jones solely because of the coaching choices that Bill Belichick made. You put together those 3 L's, and I think the Krafts feel justified if things go poorly to pull the plug on Belichick. And the other factor to me, Nick, and I don't know how you feel about this, I think and again, no one has told me this directly. I'm not reporting anything. I haven't talked to any of the candidate, what have you. But I think that timing might have something to do with this as well. Guys like Sean Payton, Billy O'Brien, Brian Flores being available right now. All three, and there could be more, but I'm just talking off the top of my head, 3 viable candidates for this team to get the team to another level, or at least succeed Belichick. If you're the Crafts, are you going to have another point in time where 3 candidates that you know that have certain talents that you feel comfortable with? Of course, we all know about Peyton. O'Brien is a guy who, in Seth Wickersham's book, there was, talk about O'Brien possibly, the Crafts possibly trying to get O'Brien in their back pocket in case Bill Belichick bolted during the whole Tom Brady stuff.
Right.
And then Brian Flores, of course, was here, very successful, black head coach, who I think would be of significance to the Crafts. So I think you combine all those things together, and you could sort of see why now the close of this season has become so important in this franchise's history.
The timing makes sense when you think about, as you just mentioned, who's available. And I'll add another link to this, kind of tying in your last point about Belichick in the 3 major L's with Mac Jones and how this offense has regressed. Number 1, Bill O'Brien has a history with Mac Jones, understands Mac Jones. It would rather, it'd be rather obvious as to how that relationship could possibly work because of the offensive system that they've worked. Obviously Bill being the OC at Alabama and Mac being there prior to his drafting by the Patriots. And also, let's not forget Sean Payton in New Orleans, big time rumors, and it's been reported, and there really wasn't any pushback to this. The idea that Sean Payton wanted to move up in the draft to draft Mac Jones because he thought that he was kind of the perfect quarterback for his system. So if you're the Crafts and you're thinking of moving on from Belichick and you're thinking Mac Jones is our QB1, which you should still be thinking, folks, if you're thinking that, it's rather obvious, and it makes all the sense in the world why Bill O'Brien and Sean Payton would be at the top of your list, because then you could marry your head coach with your quarterback and try to get things right and fix that young man so you have a quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. Last question about this. The players, what do you think's going on? Do they have any idea? Do they have a kind of a sixth sense when it comes to coaches maybe being in trouble, and could that impact their play in any kind of way?
Look, you would love to say that players are robots and they're going to try their hardest and all this stuff. I've been around some teams, mostly actually just with the Dolphins. I was there. I covered Dave Wannstedt's final season when he got fired during the season, replaced by Jim Bates. I was there for the end of Nick Saban. Players know, and I'm sure it's different. I mean, it's Bill Belichick. They're probably not really thinking about it, but I'll just say, and I know nothing about this, and I'm not saying any players are doing this, but it's just from my experience covering the league in these situations, I think players do realize some things, and could there be some chatter around among them, especially on this road trip? That's why I think the Cardinals game is big, because if they lose this game and then they're all together for a week out in Arizona practicing before the Raiders game, do they start talking about do we really want this to continue and stuff like that? So, but here's the thing. My prediction is none of this happens. My prediction at the end of the day, even though I do think this is a precarious time, I think they beat the Cardinals. I think the Patriots find a way to have a decent end of the season. Could be 8-9, could be 9-8. And I think that Belichick is no idiot. He's honest about his team. And I think he's proactive to Robert Kraft after the season, saying, look, Robert, I made a mistake here. I own it. It's my fault. Don't blame Matt. Don't blame Joe. This is on me. This is how I'm going to fix it. I've already reached out to Bill O'Brien or somebody. And again, I'm not saying this has happened. There's been no contact among anybody or anything. But I think he'll be proactive and I think he will continue on here as Patriots coach. But, you can see how this game on Monday night is sort of the swing game. If they go on national television and lose again, because I think they've lost, including the playoffs last year, I think they've lost 5 straight primetime games, at least 4 during the regular season. They haven't been close in a lot of them. If they lose to this Cardinals team, which is a freaking 3-ring circus on Monday night, things could get iffy.
Before we get into that game, I would also add that, Belichick has to feel like his legacy is on the line, at least to a point to some people. I don't believe that. I believe he is the greatest coach that we've seen. I believe he's, his legacy is solidified. But to him, you don't want to go out that way. You don't want to go out with a 7-win team, an 8-win team. You don't want to hobble to the finish line after what you've accomplished throughout your career. I still think he wants to prove to people that, he's not a result of Tom Brady and Tom Brady's greatness. And so if anybody has a lot invested in this, it's Bill Belichick. So I would just have to imagine that he, unless he's totally blinded by Matt Patricia love and the pencil in his ear, and, Joe Judge standing there doing, I don't know what the hell he's doing. I know he's quarterback's coach. I don't know. How's he helping Mac Jones as his mechanics go south and he's not playing well? I've got to imagine that Bill's like, I got to fix this. This is a mess. We all see the mess. He has to see the mess. No matter what he says publicly, he has to see the mess. He has to understand it's a debacle. He has to understand that things, and I'm talking big things, need to have some dramatic changes in this offseason. I agree with you about the team. I agree with you that Belichick will go to RKK because, I just don't know how he doesn't. All right, before going to the Cardinals game, talking about that coming up on Monday night, let's talk about Athletic Greens.
I started taking AG1 because I wanted to make sure I was getting all the vitamins and nutritional supplements I needed in one place. I hated buying all those bottles and pills. Now I've been on it for 5 months, and I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy, has kind of a mild tropical taste, a little minty, and I actually look forward to it each morning. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things you're looking for. I take it first thing in the morning. It's now part of my routine, and I'd be lost without it. I love how it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, which is huge during the winter months for those of us in New England in the darkness, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Bedard. And that is, again, that's athleticgreens.com/Bedard to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Tell me about the Cardinals, Greg.
So, the Cardinals, I don't know if you've watched any of the in-season Hard Knocks. I have caught up. I was very bummed that there was not another episode last night, so I could sort of see like a Patriots preview or whatnot. But look, this team has been a mess this season as far as a quarterback with his extension and, the thing in his contract about studying, to injuries, to, even Kyler Murray had an injury where he was out for a couple weeks. Colt McCoy comes in, leads them to their only win in the last 5 games against the crap-ass Rams team. They have lost 4 of 5 and 6 of 8. But here's the thing. They didn't have DeAndre Hopkins for a lot of the season. He was suspended, another part of the circus that's there. I am no big Cliff Kingsbury fan watching Hard Knocks. He does not know how to command a room. But the thing is, what makes them dangerous is the talent on this team. They have talent all over the place. The offensive line is very weak, but Hopkins, Murray is the type of quarterback that gets running around and drives the Patriots crazy. Christian Kirk at wide receiver. You got the running backs pretty good. James Conner. Budda Baker at safety is really good. They have talent. The Simmons kid was a top pick, even though he's gotten benched at times this year. J.J. Watt's on the line. Marcus Golden rushing the passer. Zaven Collins is a young linebacker who a lot of people liked for the Patriots as an athletic type. A.J. Green can pop a play every now and again. Hollywood Brown's back. He's only been back at wide receiver for a couple weeks. So, excuse me, not Christian Kirk. He went to the Jaguars. I meant Hollywood Brown, who they traded for from the Ravens to replace him. So this team is all over the place. You don't know what to expect, but they score points. And we know how the Patriots have trouble with teams who score points and mobile quarterbacks. So to me, this is a troublesome matchup for the Patriots. And, they better be on point in this game or else it could be a long night in the desert.
Big part of this game, according to the reports today at practice, both your tackles are not practicing today. Jacoby Myers is not practicing today. We know Damian Harris is likely going to be out for a little while, at least, the way he looked when he was leaving the game a couple weeks ago. So injuries are going to play a role. Greg kind of broke down offensively for you, what they do. They're not good on third down. They're one of the worst teams in the league, third down offensively. So I feel like if the Patriots defense can kind of mind their P's and Q's on first and second down and give them, third, medium, third, and long, it could be a tough day for this offense for Arizona. There is a DeAndre Hopkins element to this. I mean, Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs says they've absolutely pooped on you on national television the last 2 weeks. So how do you have any confidence that they'll slow Hopkins down? I don't. I would imagine he'd have a pretty good game.
And Jalen Mills isn't practicing today either.
Yeah, and Mills isn't practicing. That's another issue. So, yeah, I mean, another big game for Jonathan Jones. This will be his third in a row, when you look at the matchup, and he's failed the first 2 times. Hopefully he passes this one. I would say, the one thing that jumps out at me most of all about the Cardinals, aside from what you hit, Greg, was, defensively they've been bad. They've just been bad. And, I can give you the numbers. Third down, they're a bottom 5 team on third down defense. Teams are converting 45% of their third downs against this defense. They are literally the worst red zone defense in football. They've the scoring percentage of opposing offenses in the red zone, almost 69%. Nice, which is the worst in the league, 68.89%. So their red zone defense has been trash. But of course, the Patriots red zone offense, you guessed it, has been trash. So which one is the trashiest of the trash on Monday night? I think could tell us how this game ends up finishing. With all of that in mind, Patriots right now, they are -1. Over under is 44. What do you think?
So, a couple other things people should know as far as DVOA, and people know I'm a big fan of that over at Football Outsiders. Overall, the Patriots are 12th in DVOA, and the Cardinals are 30th. They are 29th in offensive DVOA, and they are 24th in defensive DVOA.
Wow, their defensive DVOA is better than their offensive DVOA. My goodness.
Yeah, and their special teams is 28th in DVOA. So, I mean, according to advanced analytics, the Patriots should win this game in a walk. I just, between the injury issues on the offensive line. So not only is Trent Brown, and, but that's probably still an illness. We haven't gotten the injury report yet. Probably still an illness that's lingering. So you hope that he's going to be back. We'll see what kind of stamina he has after the illness. Isaiah Wynn is not practicing yet. And also Marcus Cannon, who's eligible to come off IR, it was not spotted at practice. So right now, the 2 tackles out at practice, your only 2 quote-unquote tackles, are Yadni Kajust and Connor McDermott. I would hope I know, if this continues like this way with maybe Brown not being available, and I would hope after last week that they take with a longer time to sort of sit and look at this stuff and get people prepared, with the mini bye even though the Cardinals are coming off a full bye week. That's another factor in this. I would hope that they would look at, putting a Wenu at right tackle and putting like Ferentz at right guard. Like, at least give people who, have been here, who know the offense, who have been here longer than like 3 days, like put them on the line, give Mac Jones a chance. And the Cardinals are one of the highest blitzing teams in the league. And they have athletes. Like they're going to come and, it's not like the Patriots are clean with that stuff. And I do worry about Jalen Mills as their tallest cornerback and him being out again, if that holds true. Hopkins is big. He's got long arms, huge hands. That's a tough matchup for the Patriots Lilliputians left in the defensive backfield without Jalen Mills, as we've seen the past couple of weeks, even though Stephon Diggs isn't a big, huge guy, but Hopkins is a big physical presence. I mean, this is a scary matchup, but the way I see this, Nick, I gotta look, I don't feel good about this. And usually when I go against my gut, it's bad, but I'm going to push back against my own storyline. I think that Belichick, has the better team. I think he figures things out. I think they're better on offense against this defense. And I do think they score enough points, and the Cardinals turn it over enough, be stupid enough with Kingsbury, that I think the Patriots win. And I'm going to make it a close one. I'm going to say Patriots win 27-24.
So I think we're at the point of the season where it's like, at least for me, I don't feel good about any prediction now. I mean, I think you're 9-3 and I'm 10-2. So we've done pretty damn good this year. And really, when you look back at it, the only game that surprised me was Chicago. Other than that, nothing really has surprised me so far. As far as like results go, the Mac Jones and the offense being as bad as it was last week might have been somewhat surprising, but yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way about you. Look, that you do. Like when you look at the injuries, who knows? Like if you tell me they're out the top two tackles and Myers can't go and all this stuff, so it might make me lean towards Arizona. But I've got the Patriots too. I just think Arizona is not a good football team. I think you could argue, you could debate that they are literally one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the league, and this is a big one. You've had some extra time to get your ish right after getting, dominated by Buffalo. Big game for Belichick, big game for this team. I have zero confidence in Matt Patricia, but hopefully they do enough offensively to come out and win this game. I just don't think Arizona's good. So I'll say 23-17. BostonSportsJournal.com. Fantastic coverage there from John Corrales and Sean McAdam, Connor Ryan, of course, our guy Greg. You can sign up, $39.99 annual plan. Not too expensive. I would say it's right around Christmas time. So if you want to hook somebody up, do that. Yes. Again, $39.99 on the annual plan. And you got the chats with Greg. You've ed Greg breaking down film, all sorts of great stuff at Boston Sports Journal. What is the BSJ member question of the day, Greg?
Yeah, let me just add that I just did a chat the other day. Normally I do them on Fridays, but I did one on Wednesday this week, with the weirdo game last week. And I must have had 90 questions in my chat. I think I was at it for about 3 hours. You get that every week, and I answer every single question, even if the questions aren't so bright, which never happens because our members are and if you're interested in the best way to support BSJ, whether you're a member or not a member, fan of the pod, want to support BSJ, is to buy a gift subscription and give it to somebody during the holiday season. So go check that out over there. So the member question, this is sort of cold from a bunch of people because I got this a bunch in the chat, which is basically like, why not Baker Mayfield, and what about John Robinson coming back? So Baker Mayfield, of course, was released by the Panthers. Somebody asked me in the chat, they said, is Baker Mayfield better than Bailey Zappi and Brian Hoyer? And if so, why wouldn't you bring him here? Yes, he is better than both of those players. But here's the thing. His film was awful this year, and you also have sort of and this is the most important evaluation. This is why you keep Bailey Zappi and or Brian Hoyer over a Baker Mayfield. It's the intangibles. Like, what kind of leader is he? what kind of worker is he? There's a lot of questions about that with Baker Mayfield. I think there were rumors around the time when he went in the draft about the Patriots possibly trading up for Baker Mayfield. Do I think Josh McDaniels liked the physical talent and all that? Yes, but I think now that you have much more information on him, I don't think the Patriots would touch him with a 10-foot pole. And plus, what is that saying to Mac Jones, and how does that affect Mac Jones? There's all that discussion. Right. And as far as John Robinson, former Patriots personnel guy, surprise firing in Nashville with the Titans as GM after, they're on their way to, I think, their fourth or fifth straight first place finish in the AFC South. A team that was the number one seed last year, has been pretty good this year even with injury issues. Do I think he could come back? Yes, but I think it's a situation that, first of all, I don't think he's coming in over Macro. Bill doesn't really do that. He made his decision. He's not going to go over the head of his guys. I think it would need to be the case if somebody leaves, like an Elliott Wolf or one of the other guys in the front office, where you bring John Robinson back as a senior assistant personnel guy or something like that. But I think it would take an opening because they have a pretty full house at this point, and they really want to leave it up to it's Matt's show to run. And then, on the pro side, he has Elliott there if he wants to use him. So I just don't see a space for him.
That John Robinson firing was a heck of a thing. I mean, it's like it just seemed like it was, so reactionary to what just happened. Like, so we traded A.J. Brown in the offseason, and A.J. Brown has been all over social media, and he's talked a lot about the trade and how he wanted to stay in Tennessee, et cetera, et cetera. And what ends up happening is, A.J. Brown goes off against the Titans defense. And meanwhile, the guy who you got to replace him, Treylon Burks, he gets one catch for 25 yards, which was a touchdown, but then he gets banged up again. And it just seems like that one decision, they lost the game. A.J. Brown went off and they're like, damn it, we should never traded him. Let's fire John Robinson. It's like, okay, I guess that's I guess that's it, if that's what you want to do. And shout out to Mike Vrabel, who, somebody around Mike Vrabel got the word out that Vrabel did not want to trade A.J. Brown. So shout out to Mike for being able to handle the media. He got his side out there. Hey, look, I didn't want to trade him. He wanted to trade him. That's why he's out. We're 7-5. We're in first place. I'm still really good. I love that part of the story too. He is Greg. I am Nick. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. And hopefully we have a win to talk about next week. Cardinals, Patriots, Monday night. Again, Athletic Greens, thanks for the support. We'll be back next week to talk about the game and see if Greg and I are actually right, if they do beat the Cardinals. Till then, be well.